Giving the camera a second here. Welcome back to Terror by the Bay. I'm David, having minor equipment issues here. Judge Cannon, well, she finally pulled the trigger. In my previous readings on her, I kept seeing that she was waiting for one more thing. And when Justice Thomas came out with his guidance that the special counsel was illegally selected, or however he phrased it, that was the wink and a nod and the go-ahead for her to dismiss the case, which she has now done. For those wondering when Jack Smith can appeal something, this is it. Kind of a big thing to have to wait for, but here we are. And Jack Smith announced today, it's Tuesday as I record this, Jack Smith did announce today that he will be appealing this to the 11th District. One thing I have had wrong on my previous readings was, now Clarence Thomas is the Supreme Court Justice that oversees the 11th District. But if there's an appeal that goes to the Supreme Court, it's not like it's going to go to Justice Thomas and then he can put the kibosh on it. It looks like it would go to the full Supreme Court if the Supreme Court were to take this case. But it does signal that one of the 9 justices would be inclined to say that special counsels are not legal. But first, we go to the District Court of Appeals. And let's take a look at, I want to look at Judge Cannon with her ruling on this, the energy around her, and then let's ask about Jack Smith. We'll take it to the Court of Appeals, and then we'll see what the energy with it goes from there. So this will be a little bit of a longer reading, but it's a deep dive into the Mar-a-Lago documents case and it being dismissed. Mind you, this was the most black and white, obvious case against Trump that was going to get him convicted. It was a documents case. It's real obvious what will happen with it. The Twin Tarot channel has a reading Gary and I did on this last week. Gary messaged me. It's like, do we run it? So he decided to watch and said, yeah, it's still mostly on point. So he posted it today. But that's why if you were to watch that video, it's why we recorded a week ago. So it should have gone up sooner, but Gary was spacing out videos because I was out of town for a week. Okay, but let's do a deep dive into the Mar-a-Lago documents case now. First off, let's look around the energy of Judge Cannon making her ruling to dismiss this case based on Jack Smith being a special counsel, which is interesting. My deck is upside down. I'll turn them both this way, which is interesting because that was one of the arguments that Trump's lawyers made a few months ago. So what that was telling me is that, and I've mentioned this probably in the other video, the Supreme Court knew how they were going to rule on this a while ago. They delayed until the very last minute to keep all these cases delayed. But it was communicated to Trump's lawyers how they were going to do it. Maybe through Mike Johnson, because Mike Johnson, for some strange reason, was in contact with the Supreme Court. So he could find out what's going on, relay that to people. That gets back to Trump's lawyers. And they happened to file this filing that special counsels aren't supposed to be legally thing. And then this ruling comes through from the Supreme Court that presidents can't be kings. And oh, by the way, Justice Thomas sent a special little love letter to Judge Cannon saying, you can also get rid of that special counsel, which she just ruled on. How convenient. Guess who should recuse himself from any ruling on this case should it go to the Supreme Court? Oh, I wonder who that could be. So, foundation of the energy, it's bye-bye. Say goodbye to that court case. This was her opportunity. I kept getting like the 2 of Wands or 3 of Wands type of thing for her, like, or the 9 of Wands. It was just wanting Trump to be quiet for 5 freaking seconds because she was working on something. And here it is. This is what she's been working on, dismissing that case, sending it bye-bye. And rendering the judgment that for some reason that the special counsel was illegally appointed, and it ends the case. But it doesn't really end the case. What it does is it delays the case to pass the election, and if Trump somehow manages to get elected, this case will not be prosecuted while he's the president. Underneath it all is the 7 of Coins. She was asked to do this. She is now going to reap what she sows. I'm sure there's going to be, she received some benefit and some guidance throughout this whole case. But now this is the tree, the poison tree that, or the poison bush that she's planted in her yard. She's going to reap what she sows. And this is about reaping what you sow. So congratulations. The other part of this judgment is this opens the door for this case to be appealed to the appellate court, and they will render judgment. And again, Justice Cannon is going to reap what she sows. This ruling that she made is not a surprise. It's not. It just isn't. And will this case, will the Mar-a-lago documents case be prosecuted prior to the election? No, it's not going to. Sorry. It's just another checkpoint along this journey of nobody is going to save us but ourselves. So get out and vote. The only way we save ourselves is to get out and vote. Nobody's going to save us. There are no champions for us other than ourselves. In the past, we got the King of Cups for Justice Cannon here, Judge Cannon here. It's been very clear that she's been on Trump's side this whole time. She's not emotionally neutral in this case, and it's really apparent now with this ruling. It's just out there for everybody to see that she is not emotionally neutral. She is emotionally involved with Donald Trump, and she's made that ruling. Current situation is the Three of Swords. This is an absolute betrayal to the country. The citizens of the United States, those who believe in law and order. This is an absolute betrayal to that. This is case law that's been decided a long time ago. Matter of fact, we've been using this special counsels for the better part of 150 years or thereabouts. And as Bo with the Fifth Column pointed out today, think about all the appeals that can now be made by convictions made by special counsels against anybody who's ever been convicted by a special counsel. That's the Pandora's box this opens. All these things. All to save one person from themselves, as opposed to holding him accountable. But it's an absolute betrayal to society. All in service of the devil. Trump has this incredible ability to get people to compromise their morals and ethics one bite at a time. This whole decision, everything in this, is to serve the devil, is to show your fealty to Donald Trump. Again, this is the poison bush that she has planted, and she will reap her rewards. She will get to eat the fruit that this plant bears. Have no worries about that. The lesson to be learned is the Page of Cups. Another acolyte, another MAGA person, somebody else who just lost their frickin' mind for this guy. And instead of being the King of Cups and being emotionally mature and emotionally stable, she's biased, and she has shown herself for this. She is a lesser person now than she was when she started this whole process. Page of Wands, and now the real adventure begins. The new journey. She has basically stated who she is and why she did what she did, and now is going to be the opportunity for her to reap what she sows. This case is going to be appealed. Underneath it all, the Seven of Coins, excuse me. The reaping what you sow. I'm sure she has received a short-term benefit for this. And Matt Gaetz is saying, there's your next AG. There's your next Supreme Court Justice. Which one? He said one of the two. Hang on. Matt Gaetz said, future Supreme Court Justice. Yeah, no. No. And, with Matt Gaetz, you never know if he's sharing the unspoken secret, or if he's probably doing that just to jerk people's chains, because that's just kind of who he is. He's a jerk. So pay him no mind. celebrate it when Matt Gaetz is held to account for his bad behaviors, because there's a lot of bad behaviors for him to be held accountable for. But speaking of bad behaviors to be held accountable for, let's look and see what the district... Let's look how Jack Smith is viewing these things here before we get to the District Court of Appeals. How is Jack Smith feeling about Aileen Cannon's ruling, tossing out the case, saying that he is not legally appointed and can't investigate this? Which, by the way, he's already said he's going to appeal, as I mentioned earlier in this recording. 7-1. Well, he's not stopping fighting. This is just another battle for him to fight, and he's standing on the higher ground. And basically, he expected he's planned for this. He knew this was coming. He's ready to fight. Yep, it's the new journey. This is the opportunity he's been looking for. We've been so upset, wondering when's he going to take this to the appellate court. Well, now he's free to take it to the appellate court. And underneath it is the Drunken Hillbilly Brawl. Sorry, it's the Redneck Riot or the Drunken Hillbilly Brawl. All the chaos and the fighting that's about to go underneath here. He's been waiting. This is the opportunity. Here we go. He's been waiting on this. Here we go. Underneath it all, just the chaos and the fighting and the arguing and all the argy-bargy, if you will. He stays above the fray. The fray is here. And no, he's been fighting with this judge. He's been documenting all the things she's done wrong, and now's the opportunity. Again, could he have brought it sooner? Sure. But you know what's going to happen with this now is now that he's brought this after she's dismissed the case, this is likely going to lead to her not being able to manage this case going forward. This case will be removed from her. I'll get to that when we get to the appellate court. But expect that she's gone so far now that she can't back out. So he now gets to appeal. In the past, the Nine of Cups, whether this is Judge Cannon being guided by the Federalist Society or Supreme Court justices, or if this is Jack Smith just sitting there like he knows. Jack Smith knows he's on the mountain of right. Everything is behind him. He knows he's right. He's just been waiting for this moment. And probably in some ways, even though he built this case for speed, it's ironic how much this case has been delayed when there's no co-defendants or anything. So it makes it really, really obvious. I think maybe he built this case again. He built this case so it was just going after Trump. And Judge Aileen Cannon is only serving one person with her rulings, and that's Donald Trump. It makes it really, really obvious. And he's been sitting in the catbird seat for a while here. It's just that Judge Cannon has been sitting in charge and has delayed everything. But that's now gone. Current situation is the Knight of Pentacles, bringing this case before the appellate courts. Here we go. Just wonder when the D.C. 11th Circuit is going to take the case. And just like Judge Aileen Cannon had in her outcome card, the Page of Wands is the overarching energy here. Yep, this case is going to move on to the appellate courts. And it's funny, Judge Cannon had this on her outcome card. So that's what's coming next for her. But for Jack Smith, that's his current card, the overarching energy of the current situation. So what that's saying is Jack Smith is already ahead of Judge Cannon on this. He knew this was coming. He's already been ready for it. So while she contemplates her next chess move and spends 10 minutes doing it, the minute she moves her piece, he moves his. And now it's her turn again if she has to take a turn. He's way ahead of her on this is what I'm saying. This is not the outcome. This is the current situation. The lesson to be learned is the Queen of Swords. She made her ruling. Lived by the sword, died by the sword. She dismissed this case. And she's going to be the one who has to live with that decision. She cannot blame anybody else on this. And he is just as ruthless as she is. Okay? This is a non-emotional chess game. You did your move, I'm doing mine. And, somebody's going to win in the appellate court. The outcome is the Sun card. The truth is coming out. The truth will be exposed. Yeah. This is going to the appellate courts. I expect the appellate courts are going to work out very well for Jack Smith. We know who Judge Cannon is now. And her poison bush, she is going to get to bear the fruit, and her chickens have come home to roost, and they are going to keep coming home to roost. That poison bush is going to continue to bear fruit. Do not expect for Judge Cannon that it's over now. I think for her, it's only just begun. Her bush, the seed that Donald Trump and company gave her, that she planted and grew, that led to this decision, has now borne fruit out of this bush. And she will now get all the benefits and all the consequences of that poison bush. Free will all the way. All right, the appellate court. How's the appellate court going to review this case? Well, now we're getting ahead of ourselves here. But, when this case gets to the appellate court, it's going to get there. What's the energy around that? Exciting, isn't it? Can't wait to see. Maybe if I just started showing cards, we'd all see, right? All right, the appellate court. Page of Cups. How's the appellate court? I think they're going to be a little bit stunned by this court case, because this is almost like the DC Court of Appeals having to actually hear an argument that presidents are kings. It's going to be like, what? We actually have to rule on this? Are you serious? Are you serious? We have to do this? And they're just, they're going to look at her like, oh my God. And this whole case is like, oh my God. But they're going to hear the case. Yeah. They cannot believe they have to hear this case. This is just absolutely ridiculous. But they're going to hear it because they have to. And they're going to rule on it. Oh yeah, are they going to rule on it? And if this appellate court follows the law like they've done in the past, expect that Judge Cannon is not going to be on the winning side on this. Now, for those who are like, but it's the Florida Supreme Court and there's a bunch of Republicans on there and they're going to support Trump. The Supreme Court seems to be set up that way, but remember, this is the same court that took Judge Cannon's ruling about the special master and said, you are so far out of line, honey, and smacked her down hard, which is why she doesn't do written orders on anything in this case. She learned that if she writes a written order down, it can be appealed. So she didn't write any written orders down. So this, not only will the appellate court be assessing her ruling, looking at the Constitution and how long we've had special counsels and the impact of her ruling, so on and so forth. And as Midas Touch was showing out, the lack of justification for the main points in her 93-page opinion on this. They're also going to take into account how she's handled this case. And nothing is going to make sense to them. There's a lot of sticks. And somebody's going to probably be clobbered with one of those sticks. Or several of them. In the past, the Six of Cups. It's funny, isn't it? A couple of Florida justices, or judges, senior judges, talked with Cannon and said, let's just move this case to Miami. We got a skip here. We have experienced judges. Just move it here. And she wouldn't do it. She didn't have to, and she refused to. So, in her own naive little world, she was going to rule on this case, and she was going to be the darling of the right and get a Supreme Court justice appointee and so on and so forth. But it's just foolish naivety, and it's going to be addressed because of this. Current situation with regards to the appellate court, the strength card. They are going to look at this case. They're going to pry this case apart. They're going to look at the letter of the law. They're going to look at history. Trust what's going to happen out of this appellate court, please. Please don't get cynical with our appellate courts. This court has shown that it can follow the law regardless of Donald Trump. And I believe that they will continue to do so. The overarching energy is the Page of Swords. They are going to be, not only are they going to be looking at the ruling this odd ruling that she made, but they're going to look at how she handled things. How just all these rookie mistakes. They're going to look at her, basically, they're going to look at her like, you don't know what you're doing, and you're biased. How did you ever get to, it's like, literally, they're going to be like, how the hell did you ever get to be a judge? And I think in Congress might get to see that too. Again, vote blue, get out the vote blue, because federal judges can be impeached, and she's a prime candidate for being impeached. Not because she ruled in favor of Donald Trump, but because she is clearly out of her depth and should never have been appointed to a judgeship in the first place. The lesson to be learned is the Seven of Cups. Integrity versus illusions and delusions. Again, you got the naivety and the lack of integrity with this Page of Cups. It's going to be really obvious to this court case. They cannot understand this decision that she's made, because based on the facts, based on the precedent that's been set, her ruling makes no sense. 0 sense whatsoever. So then they have to kind of figure out why is she so bedazzled. But that's for something else. The outcome is the Emperor. I don't think they're going to rule that emperors are kings and that Donald Trump is free to do this because he was president at the time. I think basically in this case, the special counsel, the whole point of this was the special counsel legally appointed? And I think they're going to say yes, because we have precedent. It's been done for 150 years in this country. They're going to rule fairly in this one. And they're going to take strong action on it. I'm really curious about the timing. How quickly will they do this? I mean, the timing doesn't matter too much, because it's still going to go to the Supreme Court. But can you give me a sense of timing on when the appellate court might take this up? Let's see if we can get a month or a number of months or something like that. Because I think we're talking months. May not be weeks. Months might be the better metric. Better unit. Time unit. This card wants to stay on top. The Devil card. We got a 15. You got the Seven of Wands, King of Swords. There's Donald Trump versus Jack Smith here. Seven of Wands, Ace of Swords, and 3 of Cups underneath. I'm going to guess probably, let's say 7 weeks. Could be 7 months, 7 weeks. 7 weeks. I'm going to guess 7 weeks. Okay, what's 7 weeks from now? I'm not mathematically challenged here, but let's see, it's going to be 49 days. So August 16th or so, plus another 19. So August 35th. So early September, like right after Memorial Day type of thing, I think is when they're going to hear this case. And then 3 weeks after that, or 3 months from now. So by October 16th, So 21 days after, sometime between the end of September and mid-October. Say by October 16th, they will have their ruling. So prior to the election, they will have their ruling. So they'll do it, they'll have their ruling in the fall, beginning of fall or soon after that, fall being September 30th, or sorry, September 22nd or so. So somewhere at the end of September to beginning of October, mid-October, is when they're going to have their ruling. And that's when it's going to be appealed to the Supreme Court. But looking at these cards here, it's like you've got Trump, you've got Jack Smith, the special counsel. You know, the arguments, it's like the oral arguments are in 7 weeks. And the decision's going to be made. And I'm going to have the celebration here in about 3 months' time from now. So like mid-October. And it's a celebration. And if we're celebrating, I'm going to celebrate the victory of the Ace of Swords. That Trump is going to lose this case. Now, Supreme Court. The Supreme Court would take this up likely next year. Now, they come back into session in the fall. But it's not like... I wonder how much speed they give this, because the election will be over at that point. By the time the Supreme Court takes up this case, the election will be over, and we will know if we're in a democracy or an autocracy. If we're in an autocracy, they may not take the case. Well, the case is going to be ruled in favor of Jack Smith. So the Supreme Court will, if Donald Trump is still around, they'll take up the case. If Donald Trump has fled the country, they may not. They might just leave it. Okay, so I guess that's the first question is, will the Supreme Court take up this case? And it really comes down to whether Donald Trump is still in the country or not, and if he's politically viable. So much rides on this election. Again, the minute Donald Trump, if he loses this election and, you know, he loses any court challenges he has about all the election fraud that didn't happen, and Biden gets inaugurated again, or the Democrats get inaugurated again if it's not Biden, he's done. That's it. Game over. And now it's butt covering time. Use another word for butt. And it's going to be CYA time. And there's no reason to protect him. There's no reason to protect him at that point. Because what did the Supreme Court justices care? Maybe Clarence Thomas will care, because I see Jack Smith or a special counsel going after Thomas with that investigation. Again, that'll be a dangerous one. Maybe somebody else. But how will the Supreme Court take this case up? 4-quarter. Integrity or illusions and delusions. Let's see what we got. 3 of Cups. There's that victory. Empress card. Another 3. King of Wands, taking action. Star card. For the integrity of the court and the integrity of law, they may very well take this up. But this might be one of those things that if they do take it up, it's going to be 7 justices to 2. Again, we got the star card underneath here. All eyes are on this. If the Supreme Court takes this up, the Supreme Court, and obviously it gets really dicey here with this current Supreme Court. By the time they take it up, Trump is probably no longer politically relevant. And they likely, but I cannot guarantee you anything here, will take up this case. I'm not going to read on their outcome. Maybe it's premature. And that's the problem. With this Supreme Court, if I was just reading on a normal Supreme Court, your garden variety Supreme Court, they're going to toss this out. All 150 years of precedent. No, we're not talking 50 years, some simple little Roe v. Wade thing. We're talking like 150 years of precedent. Are they going to toss all that out too? How will the Supreme Court, if they take up this case, will they rule on it? This card kind of wants to be on top. Let's see. 3 of coins. Yeah, it looks like it. How will they rule on it? 3 of coins. There's a 6-3 vote. Page of Pentacles. King of Swords. There's your special counsel again. Star card was underneath it. 2 of Wands. I think what this is telling me is just really depends on what the political landscape looks like. Looking forward, talking behind the scenes, how do we do this? How is this going to look? It literally, I think it comes down to, how the country, the mandate the country has put out there, and what do they have to offer? Maybe they throw a bone to society and say, yeah, they uphold the appellate court's decision. Minor little concession, because the whole point of all this was to delay it, which is what they managed to do. But there's also this, if they rule that no, you can't have a special counsel, the Pandora's box that it opens, and such. I wish I had a stronger feel on this one. I just, my logical mind says that they would, if they took up this case, that they are not going to overturn the appellate court's decision. If the appellate court, and I'm assuming that the appellate court's going to rule against Judge Cannon. They may not take up the case, or they might take it up just to delay things further, but there's no sense in delaying things further if Trump is not politically viable. You know what I mean? They could take it and delay things further. It's just another service of Donald Trump. They could take it up in November and not rule till July of the following year type of thing. But it won't matter at that point. We'll have a either we'll have a democracy or we won't have a democracy. And there'll be no, if we don't have a democracy, they don't need to rule on it. If we do have a democracy at that point, Donald Trump is politically non-viable. They don't have to do him any more favors. It doesn't serve the ultra wealthy in this country if Donald Trump's held accountable for taking state secrets and selling them. No, if they want Donald Trump in there, if the ultra wealthy want Donald Trump in there because they don't want their businesses taxed and they want to keep all their money, yeah, you delay things. They've given him the bones that he needs to make it to the election without all these convictions hanging over him. But after that, if he's not elected, thus that wipe their hands of him. They're going to have to deal with Biden for another 4 years, and they'll turn their crosshairs on getting the GOP back into controlling Congress, and then having a Republican president in 2028. That sort of thing. Okay? So we're going to leave it here. Thank you very much for watching this video and supporting my channel. I appreciate it. I hope you found this reading insightful, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.